Hello everybody, Shrouded Hand here. Today we're going to look at the life and death of Harry Raymond Eastlack. Harry suffered from a disease called fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva, better known as Stone Man syndrome. This is one of the rarest medical conditions in the world, with only around 800 recorded cases worldwide. Any one of these cases could be the subject of a horrible ways to die video, but Harry's case is slightly worse than the others due to him being one of the first recorded cases. Stone Man syndrome is a slow and agonising condition that, as its name suggests, turns its sufferers into a living statue. The first symptoms usually occur at a young age. It's usually an inflammation that happens around a minor injury. Anything can set it off. A pulled muscle, a bruise, getting an injection, anything that causes some minor damage to the muscle tissue. Instead of healing normally, the damaged tissue swells up painfully. This swollen tissue then hardens and turns into calcium. The sufferer is left with a permanent growth attached to their skeleton, and it just gets worse as time goes on. Harry Eastlack broke his leg when he was 5 years old and was treated normally. The leg was set in plaster and all seemed on track for a speedy recovery. But when the doctors removed the cast, they were surprised to find that the bone hadn't healed at all. In fact, his leg had swollen up dramatically. A bony growth appeared on his leg and he seemed to lose the ability to move his hip and his knee joints. Over a couple of years, the growth spread to other parts of his body, mostly across his torso and neck. Stone Man syndrome is hard to diagnose even today, but Harry Eastlack was born in 1933 and back then the condition was almost unheard of. Doctors assumed he had some sort of rare bone cancer and he was ordered to undergo surgery to perform a biopsy on the growths. Now, as I said before, Stone Man syndrome is exacerbated by any damage to the muscle or soft tissues of the body. Cutting Harry open was a really bad idea. The surgery wounds didn't heal well and flesh swelled up unnaturally as the tissue underneath quickly calcified and turned into bone. Unfortunately, the doctors didn't realise that the surgery had caused the extra growths, and over the years he was submitted to more and more surgeries in an attempt to control his condition. He underwent at least 11 surgeries and each time it just made the condition worse. The bones fused into a solid sheet that crossed his skeleton, muscles and ligaments being replaced with these bony growths. By the age of 15 he was unable to move his jaw. He could only eat liquid meals through a straw and talk through clenched teeth. His hip bones formed one big solid mass, which meant he was stuck in a standing position. He could only stand up or lie down. Sitting was impossible for him. Bony growths extended out from his upper arm bones and his ribs. These growths fused together, meaning that his arms were stuck to the side of his torso. His neck fused with his skull. This made head movements impossible, and his spine became so malformed that by his mid-20s he was stuck in a position where he was constantly bowing forward and leaning to one side. Most sufferers of Stone Man syndrome die of malnutrition or asphyxiation. Many lose the ability to swallow food, or their ribs fuse together in such a way that they find it impossible to breathe. Most don't live past 40, and this was true of Harry Eastlack. The final years of Harry's life were of constant pain. The bony protuberances under his skin meant that it was impossible for him to find comfort. However he was positioned, it would feel like he was lying on sharp stones and broken glass. He ultimately ended up completely bedridden and unable to move, only able to communicate by moving his eyes. Due to this inactivity, he developed pneumonia, and by this point his ribs had formed into one solid sheet of bone, so he was unable to cough or take any deep breaths. Stone Man syndrome also makes it very difficult for doctors to insert tubes to aid breathing or remove fluid from the lungs. As a result, Harry Eastlack died just days after his 40th birthday, drowning in his own bronchial fluids. Although his suffering was horrible, it wasn't entirely in vain. Harry retained his full mental faculties, and days before he died, he informed his family of his wishes to donate his body to science. As a result, his skeleton remains preserved at the Mutter Museum in Pennsylvania, and it's been an invaluable service to doctors and scientists wishing to research the effects of Stone Man syndrome. When human skeletons are removed from the body, they collapse into a heap of bones unless artificial ligaments are attached to hold them together. But Harry's body was different. Once the flesh was removed, the skeleton remained entirely intact. It could be displayed standing upright with no artificial connectors. It shows how by the end of his life his entire skeleton had fused into one giant mass. His skeleton is still on display and being studied today, the perfect visual representation of one man's suffering. You can see every ligament frozen into jagged razors of calcium. You can really see how painful every movement must have been for him. As with most things in life, the realities of this world are far crueler than those written in fiction. Even Medusa gave her victims the mercy of a quick death when she turned them to stone. Harry Eastlack wasn't so lucky. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any suggestions for future horrible ways to die videos, then leave them in the comments. And if you did enjoy the video, remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you're not already. Until next time, goodbye.